Welcome to Dream Tale Sleep Stories. Tonight's reading is The Midnight Bakery. Settle into your bed or sofa and let your shoulders, jaw, and eyelids grow heavy. Inhale slowly. 1, 2, 3, and sigh the air away, allowing the day to fade into quiet dark. With every soft inhale, you invite fresh English phrases. With every gentle exhale, stray thoughts drift farther off. Behind my voice flows a gentle theta wave melody, renowned for guiding the mind toward deep relaxation. Soon the music will shift into soothing alpha wave tones, carrying you toward a calm shoreline of dreams. Keep your eyes closed, or follow the captions, whichever feels right. Simply receive the rhythm and resonance of the language. Deep in rest, tonight's phrases will take root like seeds, ready to bloom into stronger English skills with the morning light. When you feel settled, hold that unhurried breath and allow yourself to drift into the tale. The Midnight Bakery begins now, and when the story's final line has faded, the music will linger a little longer, carrying you gently deeper into sleep. The Midnight Bakery. Kenji Tanaka had never imagined that losing his job as a software engineer would lead him to discover his true calling. After 3 months of unsuccessful job hunting, he found himself standing in front of his late grandmother's small bakery in Tokyo's old downtown district, holding the keys she had left him in her will. The bakery had been closed for 2 years since his grandmother's death, and dust covered every surface. The old wooden counters, the vintage display cases, and the massive stone oven in the back room all seemed to whisper stories of better times. Kenji's grandmother, Michiko Tanaka, had run this place for 40 years, serving fresh bread and pastries to the neighborhood from dawn until dusk. But Kenji had a different idea. As he explored the space, he noticed something interesting about the location. The bakery sat at the intersection of 3 major streets, surrounded by a hospital, a police station, a fire department, and several 24-hour convenience stores. This was a neighborhood that never truly slept. During his weeks of unemployment, Kenji had developed insomnia and often found himself wandering the streets at night. He had observed the quiet army of night workers who kept the city running while most people slept. Nurses finishing long shifts, security guards patrolling empty offices, delivery drivers rushing between stops, and taxi drivers waiting for their next fare. These people, Kenji realized, had nowhere to get fresh, warm food in the middle of the night, except for convenience store snacks or fast food. What if he could offer them something better? What if he could honor his grandmother's legacy while serving an underserved community? With his savings running low and no job prospects in sight, Kenji made a bold decision. He would reopen the bakery, but only at night. The Midnight Bakery would operate from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., providing fresh bread, pastries, and hot coffee to Tokyo's night shift workers. The renovation took 6 weeks. Kenji cleaned every inch of the space, repaired the old equipment, and learned to operate his grandmother's temperamental stone oven. He studied baking through online videos and old recipe books his grandmother had left behind, filled with her handwritten notes in the margins. His first night open, Kenji felt nervous as he unlocked the front door at 11 p.m. He had prepared a modest selection: fresh dinner rolls, cheese pastries, curry bread, and several types of sweet buns. The warm glow from the bakery windows cut through the darkness of the quiet street. For the first hour, no one came. Kenji began to doubt his idea. Maybe night workers were too busy, too tired, or simply not interested in fresh bread at midnight. He was about to give up when the door chimed softly. A woman in scrubs entered, looking exhausted. She had short black hair pulled back in a ponytail and tired eyes that brightened when she smelled the fresh bread. "Are you really open?" she asked, almost in disbelief. "Yes, welcome to the Midnight Bakery," Kenji said with a smile. "I'm Kenji, the owner." "I'm Yuki," she replied. "I'm a nurse at Tokyo General Hospital, just down the street. I was walking home after a 12-hour shift when I saw your lights. I can't believe someone finally opened something decent for us night workers." Yuki bought 3 curry breads and a coffee, explaining that she would eat one now and save the others for her colleagues who were still working. As she ate, she told Kenji about her work in the intensive care unit, the challenges of night shifts, and how difficult it was to find good food at these hours. "You know," Yuki said before leaving, "there are dozens of us at the hospital who would love this. Can I tell them about you?" "Please do," Kenji replied, feeling hopeful for the first time in months. Word spread quickly among the night workers. By his second week, Kenji had regular customers. There was Hiroshi, a security guard who patrolled the nearby office buildings and always ordered the same thing: 2 cheese pastries and black coffee. He was a man of few words, but always left exact change and a polite bow. Then there was Sakura, a young delivery driver who worked for a late-night restaurant service. She usually arrived around 2 a.m. during her break, full of energy and stories about the interesting people she met during her deliveries. She had a sweet tooth and always chose the most colorful pastries Kenji offered. Tanaka-san, an older taxi driver, became one of Kenji's most faithful customers. He would park his cab outside and come in for coffee and conversation during slow periods. He had been driving taxis for 30 years and knew the city better than anyone Kenji had ever met. "You know, young man," Tanaka-san said one quiet Thursday night, "this city changes completely after midnight. During the day, everyone is rushing somewhere, stressed about deadlines and meetings. But at night, people slow down. They become more human, more honest." Kenji found this to be true. His nighttime customers were different from the daytime people he remembered from his office job. They were more genuine, more appreciative, and more willing to share their stories. Perhaps it was the quietness of the night, or perhaps it was the shared experience of working while others slept. But the Midnight Bakery became more than just a place to buy food. It became a community gathering spot. One rainy night in November, a new customer entered the bakery. She was obviously foreign, with blonde hair and blue eyes, carrying a large backpack and looking lost. She approached the counter hesitantly, "Excuse me, do you speak English?" she asked in accented Japanese. "Yes, I do," Kenji replied in English, happy to use the language skills from his engineering days. "Welcome to the Midnight Bakery. What can I help you with?" The woman's face brightened with relief. "I'm Emma from Germany. I'm backpacking through Japan, and I just arrived on a late train. All the hotels in this area are full, and I'm not sure where to go. I saw your light and thought maybe you could give me directions." Kenji felt sorry for her. Tokyo could be overwhelming for foreign visitors, especially late at night. "Let me make you some coffee and a sandwich while we figure this out," he offered. As Emma warmed up with hot coffee and a fresh egg sandwich, other customers began arriving. Yuki came in for her usual order, followed by Sakura and then Tanaka-san. When they heard about Emma's situation, they immediately began helping. Yuki called a friend who worked at a nearby hostel to check for availability. Sakura offered to drive Emma there on her delivery bike if needed. Tanaka-san provided detailed directions to several budget hotels in the area, along with tips about which ones were foreigner-friendly. "This is incredible," Emma said, tears in her eyes. In Germany, strangers rarely help each other like this, especially at this hour of the night. "Night workers take care of each other," Yuki explained. "We understand what it's like to be out here when everyone else is sleeping safely at home." Eventually, Tanaka-san offered to drive Emma to a good hostel at no charge, saying it was on his way anyway. Before leaving, Emma bought several pastries to take with her and promised to return before continuing her journey. That night, after closing at 5 a.m., Kenji reflected on what had happened. He had expected to serve bread and coffee, but he had accidentally created something more valuable. A place where people could find kindness and community in the loneliest hours of the night. As winter deepened, the Midnight Bakery became an essential part of the neighborhood's nighttime ecosystem. Kenji expanded his menu based on customer requests. He added hearty soups for cold nights, rice balls for workers who needed quick meals, and even special celebration cakes for birthdays and holidays that fell during night shifts. Dr. Yamamoto, the head of the emergency department at Tokyo General, became a regular customer. She often worked late into the night and appreciated having a place to grab fresh food between emergency calls. She told Kenji that several of her colleagues had mentioned how much the bakery meant to them. "You're providing more than food," she said one night while selecting pastries for her team. "You're giving night workers a sense of normalcy, a reminder that they're valued and cared for." One snowy evening in December, Kenji faced his biggest challenge yet. A water pipe burst in the building next door, flooding his bakery floor and damaging some equipment. As he surveyed the mess, wondering how he would manage repairs on his tight budget, his customers began arriving for their usual night shift. Instead of leaving when they saw the situation, they rolled up their sleeves and helped. Yuki and her nursing colleagues used their medical training to organize an efficient cleanup operation. Hiroshi, the security guard, revealed that he had plumbing experience from his previous job and fixed the immediate water problem. Sakura used her delivery network to bring plastic sheeting and cleaning supplies from a 24-hour hardware store. Tanaka-san coordinated the entire effort while making coffee on a portable burner he kept in his taxi for emergencies. By morning, the bakery was clean and functional again, with only minor equipment damage. "I can't accept all this help without paying you," Kenji protested, overwhelmed by their generosity. "You've been feeding us and listening to our stories for months," Yuki replied. "Let us take care of you for once." As the one-year anniversary of the Midnight Bakery approached, Kenji realized how much his life had changed. A year ago, he had been a stressed software engineer, working long hours in a corporate office, barely interacting with his colleagues, and feeling disconnected from his community. Now, he was part of a vibrant network of night workers who supported each other through the challenges of unconventional schedules and demanding jobs. He knew about Yuki's dream of becoming a head nurse, Sakura's plans to start her own delivery company, and Tanaka-san's grandchildren who lived in Osaka. The bakery had also changed the neighborhood. Other businesses noticed the activity and began staying open later to serve the night workers. A nearby pharmacy extended its hours, and a small restaurant started offering late-night meals. The area became safer and more welcoming for people who worked non-traditional hours. Emma, the German backpacker, returned in spring as promised. She had traveled throughout Japan and had many stories to share. But she said that her night at the Midnight Bakery had been one of her most memorable experiences. "I've been to temples and shrines, seen Mount Fuji, and stayed in traditional ryokans," she told Kenji and the other customers who remembered her. "But this place taught me something special about Japanese hospitality and community that I'll never forget." She had brought gifts for everyone, a photo book of her travels through Japan, with a special page dedicated to the Midnight Bakery and its customers. In her neat handwriting, she had written, "To the night guardians of Tokyo, who showed me that kindness never sleeps." One quiet spring night, as Kenji was preparing the morning's last batch of bread, he received an unexpected visitor. A young man in a business suit entered, looking nervous and exhausted. "Excuse me," the man said. "Are you the owner? I've heard about this place from friends." "Yes, I'm Kenji. Welcome to the Midnight Bakery. What brings you here so late?" The young man introduced himself as Daisuke, a junior accountant who had been working impossible hours to meet a deadline. He had been living on convenience store food and energy drinks for weeks and was feeling burned out and disconnected. "My colleague Yuki, I think you know her from the hospital. She told me I should come here. She said you might understand what it's like to work strange hours and feel lost." Kenji smiled, remembering his own struggles the previous year. He made Daisuke a warm meal and listened as the young man shared his frustrations about work-life balance and feeling like a small cog in a large corporate machine. "I used to work in tech," Kenji told him. "I thought success meant climbing the corporate ladder and earning more money. It took losing my job to realize that meaning comes from serving others and building real connections. They talked until dawn, and Daisuke left with fresh bread for his colleagues and a new perspective on what mattered in life. He began stopping by regularly, and eventually, the late-night conversations with Kenji and other customers gave him the courage to change his career path. As his second year of operation began, Kenji started thinking about expansion. Several other neighborhoods had contacted him about opening satellite locations, and food bloggers were writing articles about the unique concept of the Midnight Bakery. But growth, he realized, wasn't necessarily about opening more locations or making more money. It was about deepening the connections he had already built and continuing to serve his community of night workers with dedication and care. On a warm summer evening, Kenji decided to hold the bakery's first anniversary celebration. He stayed open extra hours and invited all his regular customers to bring their families and friends. The small bakery filled with people from all walks of life: nurses and doctors, security guards and taxi drivers, delivery workers and office cleaners, police officers and firefighters. Children who had only heard stories about the mysterious place where their parents worked nights finally got to see it for themselves. Elderly family members met the baker, who had become such an important part of their loved ones' lives. Yuki brought her teenage daughter, who had been curious about why her mother always came home with stories about the Midnight Baker. Tanaka-san arrived with his wife, who had been making care packages for Kenji based on her husband's descriptions of the hard-working young man who fed the night workers. As Kenji looked around the crowded bakery, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction that he had never experienced in his previous career. He had found his purpose, not in writing code or building software, but in the simple act of providing comfort and nourishment to people who worked while the city slept. "You know what you've created here?" Dr. Yamamoto asked him during the celebration. "You've built a sanctuary, a place where people can restore their spirits before returning to their vital work." That night, after the last guest had left and Kenji was cleaning up, he found a notebook that his customers had been passing around during the party. Page after page contained messages of gratitude and appreciation. "Thank you for making night shifts bearable with your warm bread and warmer smile. This place saved me during my darkest period. Having somewhere to go at 3 a.m. made all the difference. You've shown me that there are still good people in the world who care about others. The Midnight Bakery is proof that small acts of kindness can change everything." Reading these messages, Kenji understood that he had succeeded in ways he never could have imagined when he first unlocked the bakery doors a year ago. He had not only honored his grandmother's legacy, but had created something entirely new. A beacon of warmth and community in the quiet hours when the city's unsung heroes kept everyone safe, healthy, and connected. As he turned off the lights and locked the door at dawn, Kenji smiled, knowing that in just a few hours, he would return to begin another night of serving Tokyo's night workers. The Midnight Bakery had become more than a business. It was home, community, and proof that sometimes the most meaningful paths in life are discovered not through careful planning, but through the courage to follow your heart when everything else falls apart. His grandmother would have been proud.